So at 13 years old, I had a I had a kill list. I gotta hunt them down. Now you got a problem.
That's right.
I don't think I've ever said this before.
Seriously.
Seriously, this is gonna be fun. Michael in particular, he become my big brother.
The greatest of all time.
Oh, we call him Black Jesus. You're not intimidating me. We're gonna go at it.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
You're about to take your shot, and then all of a sudden, boom.
The kiss of death. Man, my back was really spasming.
How the hell do you tolerate that kind of pain?
I played games with the flu. I played games with 102-degree fever, man.
Powerful.
Right. They all thought I was absolutely crazy the day me and Shaq got in a fist fight.
Fist fight.
Oh, yeah.
Fist fight.
Oh, I'm not backing down. Listen, hey, dude, you got to throw me the ball. I said, man, fuck that. Get it off the rebound if I miss, bro.
You told them this. It doesn't bother you.
I'm fine, dude. What the hell do you want me to do? Got it.
Let me ask you this question. You say I'm one of the guys on that list ahead of you, and we play. What are you doing to get a feel? Is your mind like, are you asking, let me see if this guy's better than me in this side and this side and this side? Or are you just going saying, I'm going to kill this guy?
Well, it depends what year. So like at 13 years old, I played the longer game because my game wasn't about being better than you at 13. It was to be better than you when, the chips are really on the line. So when we played at 13, I would size you up and see what your strengths and weaknesses are. How do you approach the game? Are you silly about it? Are you goofy about it? Are you good at it just because you're bigger and stronger than everybody else? Right? Or is there actually thought and skill that you put into it? Right? And when I'd play to my weaknesses. I wouldn't play to my strengths. I played to my weaknesses. Because when you're playing summer basketball, there's so many games. So there's not a lot of skill work being done. So when are you going to get better? Right? When you're playing in competition situations, you're only playing to your strengths. Why? Because you want to win. Right? So what I would do, I was work on the things during those games that I was weak at. Left hand, pull-up jump shot, post game. Right? So I have a strategy. And so then fast forward to when I'm 17 and my game is completely well-rounded and that player at 13 that I saw at 13 is still doing the same shit at 17, now you got a problem.
That's right.
You got a problem.
And you saw that.
You got a problem.
And by the way, let me ask you, so that's high school. You go into the league. When you're going into the league, you're going with a lot of guys that were, same age, same class as you were going in.
Yeah.
Were you sizing those guys up the same exact way as you did in high school?
I did, but in the NBA, it was actually easier. Because what I found in the NBA is a lot of guys played for financial stability. And when they came to the NBA, they got that financial stability. So therefore, the passion and the work ethic and the obsessiveness was gone. So I'm looking at that, I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be like taking candy from a baby. No wonder Mike wins all these fucking championships. It's like, this is crazy. You know what I'm saying? And then you had the players that had that passion, but weren't willing to commit their entire lives to doing that, right? It's a choice, right? You have other things. You have family. You have all these other things that you have to do. The game can't really be your number one priority. And so I was just looking at that like, man, this is going to be fun.
In the Muse, you said, I knew you couldn't do what I was doing because I was obsessed. I'm paraphrasing. And then you said, whether it's friends, relationship, it didn't matter. It was all basketball.
Yeah.
If I'm buddies with you from high school, if I'm a cousin of yours, what happened to our relationship? How did that gravitate when you went into the league and you're determined to become the greatest, or you're determined to become one of the greatest? What happens to our relationship?
Oh, it suffers.
It does suffer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you understood that. You were okay with that.
Well, yeah. And the people that love you, like friends and family, like they know that about you.
Got it.
So they let you be you. And when you reconvene, you pick back up where you left off. Mm-hmm. But make no mistake about it, everything in between is lost, right? So those long-term relationships, the commitment of time of, taking vacation. Like I see a lot of players take vacations with other players that are close friends. And we'll just take vacations just to take vacations, or just hang out just to hang out. Like I never did that. But it was a choice.
Not though? Why didn't you do that?
Well, because when I retire, I didn't want to have to say, I wish I would have done more. I don't want that. You know, I don't want that.
So, okay, so you come in. It's very powerful what you just said. Some of your peers were in it for the money, so they got the money. Okay, great. Buy a house for my mom. Dad wanted that car. Get this, get that, have fame, go to different cities. I'm partying. I'm doing all this other stuff. Who were some of the guys that you saw and you watched that weren't just driven by the money? Were there some names that you looked at and says, these three guys are as crazy as I am?
At the time, I deal with what I've referred to as Goat Mountain. I went to Goat Mountain, and I talked to Magic, Michael, Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, Jerry West, Oscar Robinson, Bill Russell. You know, so I would talk to them. What did you do? What were your experiences? Michael in particular, he's become my big brother. He's been my big brother since I first came in the league. And what was that process like? Right? So I went to them and started understanding the ins and outs of the game and, you know, how they approach things and their level of detail and obsessiveness. And that's what I did.
Why do you think, and first of all, let me ask how it felt, but I'm curious to know why you think as well. How did it feel knowing, like, from the moment you got into the league, the guy at the time is the greatest of all time, everybody wants to be like Mike, Gatorade, all this stuff. The level of respect he had for you when he spoke about you was different than everybody else. And you're an 18, 19-year-old kid at that time.
Yeah.
How did that feel when you heard how he spoke about you?
It made me feel good, but like what I told him, I was like, you didn't say anything I didn't already know, so. You know, so like, I tell you, like when I was in high school, and I used to work out with the 76ers, I used to ask him, man, what's it like to guard Mike? He go, Mike? You mean Black Jesus? I'm like, what the fuck? Black who? Oh, we call him Black Jesus. Or you can call him Black Cat. I'm like, I'm gonna call him fucking Mike. That's his fucking name. So the level of fear that he inspired in others was insane. Wow. And I would tell him, I said, when I face him, we're gonna go at it. He says, oh, you don't wanna do that. I'm like, what? Man, you don't know me, man. And so when we matched up, I think he understood that. And you know, when I was 18, my first year, he got the best of me a bunch of times. I was right there the next play. You're not intimidating me, yeah. I'm not going anywhere. And I think he saw that level of respect, because I think he was the same way at 18 years old. And that common bond is what I think, you know, where our connection was built.
Yeah, it was great watching you guys going back and forth, whether it was the All-Star game or whether the famous scene where, you know, you're guarding him, he's in front of you, you're asking him a question, there's a question, and he's saying footwork and do this.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful watching that take place with the two of you guys. How's your relationship today?
It's my big brother, man. Like, I can't, you know, it's, we talk often. We send each other Christmas cards every year.
Send each other Christmas cards.
Every year, that we have nothing to do with, but, you know, yet and still, you know. But we're extremely close, man.
Extremely?
Extremely close.
That's
extremely
great. That's great. Yeah, you know, as a fan, I'm not in your world. Your world is a whole different world. I just see it from a fan, and I just see it from what experts say. But as a fan, I feel that's exactly how it would be with you and him, because the level of respect from both sides is reciprocal. And it's great to hear that. Going a little bit past it, you know, you came into the league, you start playing. First year, you get traded for Divac, which we were devastated when we lost Vlade Divac. I want you heartbroken when we lost Divac. Okay. I think he got the sarcasm. Some of you guys who don't know basketball, you missed that one. It's kind of one like this. But Kobe shows up. I mean, I'm like a kid in a candy. So when you show up, I'm like, oh, no more Sedale trees. We're going to get some real players. Nothing against these guys, but we wanted some entertainment, you know?
Yeah.
So you show up and you play, and there was the one game. I think you started getting a little bit more playing time. I think you did 7.2 points a game because they won't let you play. The coach was just not putting you in there.
Yeah.
Second season was like 15. I bet if you take your first three and you played college, your 25.4 would be a 26.5, 26.6 type of a number.
Yeah.
But your first 3 seasons, then the one game, it's the last game of the season, you play Utah.
Yeah.
The one where you shoot 3 air balls at the end.
5. It was like 5.
And then you hit one and his team doesn't go in, right? Mm-hmm. Moses, not Malone, one of the Malones came and spoke to you. I don't know who it was, from the Jazz.
Malone,
He was saying something, you were not even paying attention. Shaq was whispering something in your ear. What did Shaq say to you in that moment?
I don't even know.
You don't remember?
No, I wasn't paying attention.
Got
You know, like it was, you know, like for me, it's maybe it's a little like asshole of me or whatever, but whatever. He was trying to whisper encouraging things. I was like, I'm fucking fine. Okay, I shot 5 air balls on national TV in front of millions of people that cost us the series, and I'm 18. I'm fine, dude.
How do you get there how does somebody get there mentally with that public humiliation? To some people hurts them and they don't come back because, you know, there was a player, Barbosa. I don't know if you remember Barbosa.
Yeah,
of course you remember.
Of course.
He was extremely talented for a quick first step, but they said he wouldn't do well when the spotlight was on him.
Yeah.
How did you get mentally and emotionally so strong where it doesn't bother you?
Well, you know, you got to look at the reality of the situation. You know, like for me, it's not, you know, you kind of got to get over yourself. Like, it's not about you, man. Like, okay, you feel embarrassed. You're not that important. Like, get over yourself.
That's where you go.
Get over yourself, right? Like, you're worried about how people may perceive you, and like you're walking around and it's embarrassing because you shot 5 air balls. Get over yourself, right? And then after that, it's okay, well, why did those air balls happen? Got it. High school, year before, we played 35 games, max, right? Week in between, spaced out. Plenty of time to rest. In the NBA, it's back to back to back to back to back to back to back. I didn't have the legs. So you look at the shot, every shot was online. Every shot was online, but every shot was short. Right? I got to get stronger. I got to train differently. The weight training program that I'm doing, I got to tailor it for an 82-game season so that when the playoffs come around, my legs are stronger and that ball gets there. So I look at it with rationale. And say, okay, well, the reason why I shot air balls is because my legs aren't there. I go, well, next year they'll be there. That was it.
Done. And then what is your process of improvement with your schedule leaving? Because, you know, Phil Jackson gets asked between you and MJ, right? Because he coached both of you guys. So, you know, you constantly gets asked that question.
He's always going to pick the first child.
He's going to pick the first child. But I tell you, he said something about you that to me, it's a level of respect that any player can duplicate what he said about you. To me, the level of respect for that is a whole different level. You can't teach big hands. Right? You cannot teach that, right? You cannot teach 49, 48-inch, whatever the vertical leap is, and you cannot teach that, right?
Sure.
But he said nobody in his history of coaching had your level of work ethic. I mean, you hear so many guys tell stories about your work ethic. What was really your work ethic like, and for how long did you stay disciplined?
Well, I mean, every day. I mean, since, you know, for 20 years. I mean, it was an everyday process and trying to figure out strengths and weaknesses. For example, jumping ability. Man, my vertical was a 40. It wasn't a 46 or a 45. My hands are big, but they're not massive. Right? So you got to figure out ways to strengthen them so your hands are strong enough to be able to palm a ball and do the things that you need to do. Quickness, I was quick, but not insanely quick. I was fast, but not ridiculously fast, right? So I had to rely on skill a lot more. I had to rely on angles a lot more. I had to study the game a lot more. And, but I enjoyed it though. So like from the time I can remember when I started watching the game, I studied the game and it just never changed.
Technical question here. Let's see how you can answer this. Who would Shaq be if he had your work ethic?
He'd be the greatest of all time.
If Shaq had your work ethic,
he'd be the greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time by a mile.
Sure. He'd be the first to tell you that, for sure. I mean, this guy was a force like I have never seen. I mean, it was crazy. You know, a guy at that size, generally guys at that size are a little timid and they don't want to be tall. They don't want to be big. Man, this dude he did not care. He was mean. He was nasty. He was competitive. He was vindictive. I mean, I wish he was in the gym. I would have had fucking 12 rings.
If you had the work ethic.
My God, yeah. We ain't be close.
Wow. And let me ask you this question. And by the way, I'm not asking this question to create feud between you and him. You
I don't
openly,
care,
you guys
bro.
talk
Listen,
about it
me
openly.
and Shaq sit down all the time, and I say, dude, if your lazy ass was in shape.
I hear you saying all the time, and he takes it.
I tell him all the time.
I'm asking this question for a different reason. I'm asking this question because, look, we've grown as a company extremely fast. We went from one office with 66 agents to 10,900 offices, 10,900 agents in 49 states, and we're the fastest growing insurance company now. But I say it for one reason. And by the way, this message is directed to a lot of you, so hear me out very simply. The fact that you say the work ethic side, the fact that you say work ethic side, and you say, hey, if he would have worked that hard as I did, do you think if he would have had the same level of commitment to the game as you did, you guys would have had fewer feuds between each other?
Yeah, because I don't deal with people that don't commit at that level, but then act as if they do. I don't deal with that. I don't. It's real shit. I mean, listen. So, like, we used to get into stuff all the time because it was like, you know, he would say, okay, Kobe's not throwing me the ball. And, you know, media would take it and run with it and all this other stuff. And I'm like, well, bruh, if you were in shape, by the time I run down on a fast break and run back and then run down, you're still coming down the first time, bruh. Like, what the hell do you want me to do? Right? So a lot of our contention came from that.
And even though he was older, you were still confronting him. You didn't care.
Oh, I didn't care. Man,
from
listen,
day one,
bro.
From day one.
I knew for sure, Rick Fox, my teammates, they all thought I was absolutely crazy the day me and Shaq got in a fist fight. After that day, they were like, okay, Kobe, you're certifiable.
Fist fight.
Oh, yeah.
Fist fight.
I'm not backing down. Listen, either you're going to whoop my ass or we're going to have a night. But, you know, ain't no way. You know, there's a level of respect, and for Shaq too, by the way. I know he's told me that day was a big turning point for him because it was like, you know, he's generally used to talking trash and saying what he wants, and nobody really stepping up and challenging him on that. And when he saw me challenge him on that, he was like, "This kid's crazy. All right, I can win with that." You know, and so that was kind of the beginning of our relationship, I think.
That's probably never happened to him. That's probably not something that's common to him.
No,
I mean, he's also 7 feet tall since he was 3 years old or something, right?
This is all coming back to me right now. There's also a game in Phoenix, my first year we were playing, and he kept posting up, but they kept fouling him, so he kept going to the free throw line and kept missing them. And so he'd throw the ball out to me. I'm not throwing that shit back in there. Right? So I kept shooting him, right? So we get in the timeout, and he's like, hey, I'm open. I'm like, okay. And so we go out, same thing, hey, I'm open. Okay. There you go. Come back in, hey, dude, you got to throw me the ball. I said, man, fuck that. Get it off the rebound if I miss, bro.
You told him this. First year.
18 years old, man. 18 years old. And I must have been out of my damn mind.
So, did you have guys you went to outside of the players? Like when you're coming to figure out a way to improve your game. We had Billy Bean here a couple days ago, and I don't know if you know who Billy Bean is. If you've seen the movie Moneyball, he's the guy, Billy Bean.
Of course.
So he talked a lot about predictive analytics. He talked about the fact that the year Moneyball came out, the year prior to that, they paid players and looked at on-base percentage as a stat. And the year Moneyball came out, all the scouts started making on-base percentage number one, what they recruited for, right? Did you have ways to improve your game by looking at data, looking at conditioning? What were some of the factors you looked at on how to improve your game season after season?
The game itself it's a complicated answer. So there are very tactical things in terms of footwork and geometry of the court. So you're looking at the court and looking at the 45-degree angles that the court is shaped in and how it needs to operate. That's one component to it. So looking at spots on the floor where you can increase your efficiency, right? You can be on the wing, but there's a certain spot on the wing that improves your angle to drive to the basket, right? So that sort of stuff. Footwork of the opposition, looking at the emotion of the opposition, their tendencies, their weaknesses, and all that stuff, understanding the momentum of the game, how to create momentum shifts, where momentum shifts come from, all this sort of stuff. And then studying outside of that, right? Looking at different industries, looking at conductors, looking at writers, looking at actors and how they get into character, and then how do they keep themselves in that mental space. So looking at different industries, looking at nature itself, and learning from that and how you can incorporate that into the game. Man, it was a lot of studying.
What's your process for making a decision? Do you have a flow of how you go through making a decision?
Depends on the decision. Depends on the decision. If we're talking about, a basketball decision where, you've got to, read a certain coverage or something like that, I mean, a lot of that comes from the pre-work and understanding what their defensive package is and how to put teammates in certain situations. So, for example, if you look at players nowadays that are charged with taking game-winning shots or making game-winning decisions, and you look at the play and then you look at it and say, okay, well, that shooter was there, the double team came, and, the player couldn't do anything but pass the ball, right? Well, that's because they didn't do the pre-work, right? So when you do the pre-work, you understand, okay, this team in this situation likes to run a double team from this particular angle. All right, so I'm going to clear that side out, force the double team to come from a different angle, move myself to a space on the floor where it's going to take a long time for the double team to come, and now I can circumvent the double team and get to a place on the floor where I can knock down a shot or get to the basket. So it's all that pre-work.
The decision, when I say decision, if you're looking at somebody that you're sizing up, or if you're looking at somebody to go into business with, or if you're looking at a big investments you got to make, what is the decision-making process there? Do you call? Is there first you do your own research, you take this much time, you call an advisor? Is there a system you follow?
It's pretty simple for me. It's do you understand the business? Is it a business that you can help in some form or fashion? What are the barriers of entry to that business? And then the entrepreneurs themselves, the company itself, right? Do they have a culture that you believe is sustainable? Are these leaders people that you believe in? Are they people that are obsessives? And in turn, have they created a culture of obsessiveness? So I tend to look at those 4 factors, and that's it.
That's big right there, by the way. I don't know if you guys caught that right there. That's pretty massive right there. Earlier you said, I'm probably not going to get this right, a 16-year-old, a 13 or 11-year-old?
Yeah, 13. 16, 13, 2, and 1 that's a month.
1 that's a month, by the way, right? 1 that's a month.
All girls.
All girls, 444. So 16 means you're in your 5th, 6th year having a baby?
Yeah.
Is it something like that, right? Give or take. What was the conversation like with your wife to say, listen, this is the schedule? Because look, some entrepreneurs, they're coming home at night and late, oh my gosh, my wife is upset because I came home at 11:30.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, what a sacrifice I'm making. This life's, I don't know if I can do this.
Sure.
You're on the road 9 months out of the year. If you especially played the Olympics, you won 2 gold medals, so you're doing that on the off season and you're trying to get that part going and training for doing your camps. What is the conversation like with your wife and kids to say, listen, this is what I'm doing? How did that conversation go?
Well, with the kids, it's different. So, like, the communication with our children is that, Pops is working hard. This is the level of attention to detail you need to have in everything you do. So it's setting the example. Same thing with my wife. My wife's a stay-at-home wife. It's the hardest job, man. Right? So she works really hard at that. I mean, it's, and so her attention to detail with that as well are examples for our children. And then for my wife, it's, she's as competitive as I am. So she's like, listen, man, if you're going to be out here training 8 hours a day, if you're going to spend 9 months out of the year away from your family, you better fucking win the championship. What are we doing this for? What are we doing?
That.
What are we doing?
I love that.
But it's a balancing act. And that's the thing that's important, is understanding that we have to have so much energy. Because for like Natalia and Gianna when they were babies, especially Natalia because she was doing prime years, and I'd go to practice and I'd train and I'd play the game and I'd come home and I'd be sore and I'd be tired. and she wants to go swimming, she wants me to take her to the park, she wants to just jump on my back or whatever the case may be, you can't say, I'm too tired, I'm going to lay down. That's not fair. She doesn't know what the hell's going on, right? And if this was a game, you'd suck it up and play. I played games with the flu. I played games with 102-degree fever, man.
Powerful.
You can't do that.
That is so powerful,
right?
man.
You got to be on, man.
That's big. Did you guys, would you sit at the, because you're obviously very detailed, your show. I mean, you're a very, very detailed guy. Would you guys have a meeting, like I sit there and say, okay, if I'm thinking like Kobe, let's just say Kobe is trying to schedule out his year, season's about to start. Would you sit with her and say, okay, babe, this is the schedule next 12 months. Tell me about birthdays. Tell me about this.
Yes.
Is that what you guys do?
Yeah, I look at it and say, okay, birthdays, what am I missing? Valentine's Day, Halloween, Christmas, Easter, like all that fun stuff. I look at the schedule and see what I'm there for, what I'm not there for. Christmas, is it a road game or a home game this year? And then we make a family decision. It's family travel. Do I come back? Like sometimes I'd fly back. Like I'd play a game and to not miss my daughter's birthday, I'd fly back, be there for her birthday, and then fly back with the team, just to make sure I don't miss anything.
Respect. What's the least amount of sleep you played a game on? Is there a story where it's like, no one knows about, where you went and played a game and it was so insane for whatever reasons?
No sleep.
You played a game with zero sleep?
Zero sleep. Zero sleep. It's like, kids, Natalia had a certain, health situation or what have you, and you're staying up all night, and then you got to go out and perform because fans don't know. Teammates don't know, nor do they care, nor should they, that you've been up all night. You got to perform, right? And so you just got to go to work, man.
That's respect.
That's it.
Respect. And